I am queen of the most powerful nation in the world, and my entire family is gone. Have I not given everything?
Ibombe!
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 Welcome back to the IMNerd podcast, guys. I'm your host, Freyway, and I'm here with my, what do they call him, the White Lion or something like that? What's the name of what's the name of Bucky when he comes to Wakanda?
I'll take the White Lion. I'll just take the White Lion.
Yeah,
I don't want us to go any further. As long as I'm not getting called colonizer.
Yeah,
right?
no, I
They
wouldn't
were
call
throwing that shit around today.
I know.
They were calling him a colonizer. They were like, "Who's my favorite colonizer?" And then when they saw their favorite colonizer in chains, that shit was crazy. That shit was wild.
Oh yeah, that did happen at the end of the movie.
She was like, a colonizer in chains. I have seen everything.
Yeah, the movie. Okay, so right off the bat, Wakanda Forever actually redeemed the Marvel Cinematic Universe for 2022. I think that every movie that came out in 2022 in MCU was god awful, including. So I don't know the exact chronology of these movies, but I feel like the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came out last year. Thor: Love and Thunder came out last year. And there might have been other ones. I'm pretty sure I've seen them all, and I generally did not enjoy any of them. I didn't think any of them were good. I think Multiverse of Madness is watchable at the very least, and Love and Thunder was just garbage. So like, ever since No Way Home, I feel like the MCU has been on a bit of a downturn, and that's mainly because of a couple reasons. I think that when you don't have the really big names, like Iron Man's not around anymore. The Hulk is apparently gonna get something soon, but he's kind of been out. All of the main Avengers, right? Like Captain America's done. So he's done. Chris Evans. So all of the main Avengers are kind of not in the picture anymore. So they're trying to develop and build on other people or just newer characters, and that's why a lot of these shows are coming out and all of this stuff surrounding the next phase. But I just haven't been impressed with the 2022 movies. It feels like a lot of them feel like a bit of an afterthought, or that they're not that significant yet, and the quality drop is there. But Wakanda Forever, when I tell you that, not only did I think that this was the best Marvel movie I've seen last year, but it's actually in my top 5 Marvel movies, period. Like, I think that this movie was actually fantastic for so many reasons. One of them being, I think that the villain, and I'm using air quotes with that, so I think that Namor is actually more than just, like, I don't think that I can boil his entire character down to he is a villain, right? Like, he's against the protagonist, Shuri and the Queen, but he's not necessarily a villain in a sense of like, oh, I just want to dominate the world and take over the world or anything like that. It's not that simple with him. His motivations are actually pretty good, and he's somebody that you could actually root for, which I always enjoy because I'm an Eren Yeager fan, I'm a Yagami Light fan. So Namor speaks to me on so many levels. But
Namor is the man. He's a really good antagonist character.
Yes.
Once again, like you said, his motivations. Oh, by the way, side note, if you didn't catch on yet, we're talking about Wakanda Forever. If you are wondering why we're talking about it now, it's just because it literally just came out February 1st on Disney Plus.
Yes.
Because it's like official release date. So I know that it came out in the movie theaters whenever that came out, but to me that didn't even exist. So it just came out for Black History Month. Let's go.
And
this movie just came out. But yeah, it just came out. So if you haven't seen it, Disney Plus it up. It's pretty dope.
I think that it actually came out in November anyway, so it's not like it's been out for a while. Like, the movie is still relatively new.
Yeah. It came out at the end of last year.
Yeah, it was in the fourth quarter for sure of last year. So the movie, in my head, I feel like I just went to go see it with. When I first saw it, I saw it with 10 people in the theaters. It was like me, Silverman, McCabe, my friend Drew. Like, it was a ton of people from locals. We all just went to go see the movie on a Thursday night when it first came out. So kind of that first release day. And I just really, really enjoyed it. But I really like the world that we live in now, where you don't have to wait long for movies to come out on streaming, which is cool. I love that.
It's insane how quick Disney Plus puts their like not everything does this, but specifically the Disney movies, Marvel, Star Wars, they go to Disney Plus pretty quickly after coming out. But yeah, so it just came out. Anyway, back to Namor is really cool, really good villain because his motive. First of all, they give time for the villain. Something that is a trend with me, at least, is usually if the villain is well developed, the story or the show or the movie, whatever it is you're paying attention to, is usually good. A lot of times, like the motivations and the development of the villain really carries the rest of whatever it is that you're watching. Because if the villain's motivations aren't believable, you go, "What the fuck am I even watching? Like, why is this happening?"
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
And Namor is really believable because he's not necessarily a villain. He's just not the main character of the story we're watching.
Right.
If we're watching the story from his perspective, it would make even more sense, and we would end up rooting for him even more and stuff like that.
Let's even try that for a second. So if you think about the way this movie begins, there's a machine that the U.S. government has that has the ability to discover vibranium, and that has never existed before. No one has ever made a machine that could actually discover vibranium. So this machine is in the ocean, and it has discovered Talokan, which is Namor's world, right? Like that is his world that he pretty much has dominion over. He's been ruling there for hundreds of years, actually, and he doesn't want to move his people every time somebody might invade or discover that his people exist and that vibranium is there, because every outside government, so everyone outside of Wakanda wants vibranium. It's like a big point of the movie. It's actually kind of the point of the movie is that the outside world is struggling to find vibranium. They really, really want it to make weapons of mass destruction. And once they have this machine made by Ironheart, and we'll talk about her later, but once they have this machine, they find Talokan. So he immediately is like, oh, absolutely not. I know how terrible the surface world is, because later on in the movie it gets revealed, you know, how his origins began, and it's really dark. It's like slavery and all types of wild shit, which very emotional, but he knows how dark the surface world is. So from his perspective, his people are just living in peace and harmony one day, and this fucking machine comes out of nowhere and it's like, yo, if we start drilling here, if we start invading this area, we can get vibranium. So he destroys that shit.
Yep.
And then he goes to Wakanda and he's like, yo, this place is insane. I love the fact that you guys have no need for the outside world at all. This is a completely closed off society. The air here smells great. Everything about this place, the water, he said the water is amazing. So vibranium has affected everything in the Wakanda area, and only in the Wakanda area, as we know. But from his perspective, he's like, this is actually exactly what I want for my people, and I want to continue to have, and we can only have that if this American scientist is dead, because this machine is causing issues with my people, and I don't want my people to be invaded. I don't want them to be killed. I don't even want to send them to war if we have to. I'd just rather not. And from his perspective, again, like, he just doesn't want anything to happen to his people. So he's the protagonist of his story, like Kenny said. And I agree with that 100%. So when he destroys that machine in the beginning and starts, you know, killing all of those people, it's a necessary evil. It's an enemies necessary type of vibe. He's definitely a Malcolm X type of character, a Magneto type of character, right? Like, it's us versus them.
Yeah, for sure. And like, for good reason in a lot of ways. Like, he's just the stuff that he's seen, the stuff that he's been through. So it's really believable. Also, side note, when we see the flashback of him as a kid, I don't know why he looked like a badass. Even like that 5-year-old looks like a badass. All right,
bro.
The 10-year-old or whatever.
So
like,
you also like Namor's design, right? Because I love it.
Yeah, he looks awesome.
I think he also, I don't. This is weird, but he kind of reminds me of you, only because like you're Portuguese and you're half Portuguese, right? So like you're like half Portuguese because your father's Portuguese, your mom's Italian. But like, I've seen you when you have some melanin in your skin, when you actually leave your house and you get some sun, and like something about like, he is also of, I don't know exactly what descent it is. It was like, what they say, I forget exactly what they said, but it's like some kind of Latino heritage, right? Like, he comes from something that has its origins in Latino culture. And that just immediately made me think of like, okay, I love the fact that the Black Panther represents like obviously Africa, and then you have this Latino hero now in the MCU.
Yeah,
because I kind of consider him a hero. He did actually at the end of it you know, he did seem like he was kind of on the side of Wakanda, even though he does have ulterior motives. But he's like, listen, we don't have to do this anymore. Like, I'm down to not go to war with your people. Let's unite. And I like how him and Shuri kind of united at the end. But it is
cool.
just cool. I feel like he could get his own movie. Is basically what I'm.
He definitely could get, in my opinion, get his own movie. Also, something else I think is cool is that it's cool that because like in the comics and everything, and then he even says it, like he is a mutant. Like officially, he is a mutant, like not an X-Man, but like an X-Man mutant, right? And I think it's cool because mutants aren't really a thing in this version of Marvel.
They're not yet.
Just because like they're a big thing in the X-Men movies, and the X-Men movies aren't part of this universe. Anyway, it was just cool to see like mutants officially being in the series. Because off the top of my head, we don't really have them anywhere else.
I don't think that they are a thing until this. As far as I know, this movie kind of established even using that term. And obviously that term has a double entendre because we know mutant in the MCU could mean like the X-Men, like you said, those kind of people, but also in the sense that he literally is a mutant because no one else in his tribe is like him, even within the people who are all of the water, and they all are descendants of the people who ate that flower or that fruit or whatever it was that was in the ocean. Their skin turned blue and they can no longer breathe on the surface. I love the backstory for him and his people so much. Like his mother, the disease came over from the Europeans. They fled. And this is like, I love that part of it is based in reality, right? Because as we know, Europeans brought a lot of disease and stuff with them. And so it's like we fled because one, enslavement, right? But also because people were getting sick and dying and there was no real medicine to combat that at the time. So they prayed to their god and they found this, not a heart-shaped herb like the Wakandians did, but they have their own version of that, essentially, that gives you the ability to live in the water away from civilization on land, and it turns their skin blue. It makes it where they can't breathe on the surface without special technology, but they can completely live in the ocean. And he is born to a woman who was basically of that original tribe that took that flower or that fruit or whatever it was.
Yeah, she was pregnant when she took the fruit or the flower.
So it had some kind of special thing on him because he's the only one who's literally born like, I guess he's kind of like half and half in a way because she was originally human and then she takes this thing that gives them all like superpowers, for lack of a better word, but it has a special effect on him specifically. And so because of the way he was born, it just made him ridiculous. Now I want to say this because I watch everything with power scaling in mind, and Namor is outrageously powerful. Like
not only is he really powerful, the effects on the movie were pretty fucking good. When he was flying around with his fucking with his wing feet.
The part where he invaded Wakanda and he's just like zipping around, I was like, why is he so fucking fast? And they actually say that. I think Ironheart actually says he's really, really fast. And then she says, but I'm faster, and she powers up or whatever. But he is outrageously fast. He never gets hit, really. Like there's a whole section where he just doesn't get hit.
He's fast as fuck. And he's just like flying through these Wakandan like warships and stuff, like these airships. He's just like flying through them, tearing them apart. Like
the part where he has his staff and he's like juking left and right, and he lands on one of the ships, jams his staff into it, it explodes, and he jumps to the next one, does the same thing. Then all of the people are shooting at him too, and he's dodging everything. It's crazy. He's so fast. And then at one point, he like, we didn't know at the time what he was doing, but he kind of recharges. So he dives in the water. He goes all the way up in the sky. He dives in the water, and then he comes back up, and he's just like broken again. He's so broken.
Shoots out of the water too. Yeah, it's cool too because it doesn't look like he's going there to recharge. It just looks like that's naturally part of his fighting style because like he's like a water guy.
Well, two things can be true, right? So it's like his fighting style. I was so in love with him, but as I was watching him do his thing, the first thing I said was, how the fuck are they going to deal with this guy? Because he looked like, to me, you need someone like Superman to deal with him. Like, honestly, and I say that for a reason. The durability of his subordinates is a little too high to me. The one guy, I don't remember his, Atada, I think is his name or something like that.
I am not even going to pretend to remember the names.
The main muscular dude who has the really big crown that ended up fighting Okoye. Okoye is the general of the Wakandan army. the Dora Milaje.
If this was like a 500 episode series, I would know everyone's name.
Yes.
But watching the movie one time with all those names, and the names aren't necessarily easy to say,
No,
like,
they're not.
I do not.
And I'm probably butchering the names too, but the main subordinate guy, he's like, I guess his top general. And he ends up fighting Okoye, so the top general of Wakanda versus the top general of Talokan. They ended up fighting, but I remember in the very beginning of the movie, when they first attacked the American tanker, the Americans were shooting guns at him, and he literally stood there, Kenny.
Yes, he did.
Literally did not move. He didn't even deflect them. They shot him it was not point blank, but they were so close that you can't miss. And every single bullet actually did hit him. They just didn't pierce him. So that told me immediately the durability of certain ones. Now, granted, it was interesting because in the same exact sequence of scenes, the one lady who's running away and gets in a helicopter, she does actually shoot a couple of them and they fall. So it's not that they're all immune. It's just that he completely disregarded.
I think they have varying levels of durability in that regard, because the one person that they shot, she shot the one guy that was chasing her, and she shot him like 3 times and it didn't really do anything. And then it seemed like it started to having an effect, because like it was like the same guy she shot him, and then like he kind of brushed it off, but then eventually she was able to like shoot him back, and the bullets eventually took effect on him.
The fact that they just
I was hyped on that scene, that opening scene. I was watching it and I was like, yes, kill them. I was like, this shit is hype. I was like, kill. And then when they got in the helicopter and they were escaping, and the one girl came up, I was like, oh my god, please throw a spear at that.
I thought she was going to do the Night King. You thought she was going to do the Night King, right?
She did do it. She just didn't do it on screen.
Yeah,
because eventually, like off or from the perspective of the helicopter, they're flying. Then all of a sudden, like, we're not moving. We're moving backwards. And then it goes like, she essentially got like a spear. From what I understood, the spear she threw in, and then like they're pulling the helicopter back.
That's not what happened. Namor actually came and started grabbing.
Oh yeah, that's what happened.
Yes,
that's right.
Namor started to actually spin the helicopter around.
That is what happened. I forgot, because at that time I was still trying to figure out what was going on in the movie, and it was so goddamn dark. I was having a really hard time seeing all the dark scenes.
I agree with that. The beginning of the movie with that particular scene, first of all, starts off underwater, and then the one girl who's in this gigantic mech suit, she's walking on the ocean floor or whatever, looking at the vibranium machine, and they're asking her for a visual because they can't see the one guy. They're like, his camera went dark. Can you get us a visual on him? And she's like, he's gone. And they're like, what do you mean he's gone? That whole sequence is really dark. There's not much light to it except obviously the vibranium machine, and that gets turned off.
Yeah.
Like, it literally gets turned off and it becomes really, really dark. And I think that they wanted that to be a very dark scene in general because, one, it is nighttime, you're out in the middle of the ocean. But it was hard when I first watched it, because now I've seen this movie 4 times. So obviously, like, Kenny's seen it just yesterday because it just came out basically. So he's seen it just yesterday, but I've seen it 4 times. So at this point, like, I know exactly what is going on and what happens. But the part where the one girl, like the top girl general, walks up, I thought too, when I first saw that they were like, how come our helicopter isn't moving anymore? I thought that she did something to it, like throw her spear or did something too. And it's weird because the first time I saw the movie, I didn't even notice Namor because he's really tiny. They don't really want to show him yet. He's really, really tiny. When you see the helicopter sink, you kind of see a figure. They don't even show. You see a figure with wings on its legs in the distance, but it's really hard to tell what you just saw.
And it happens quick, because I do remember seeing that and us commenting on it. We were like, we were just like, that guy's swimming in the air.
It was confusing when you didn't know, without the context of knowing. Like, obviously, once you watch it again and you know, oh, Namor exists and he flies and all that stuff.
I had next to no spoilers for the movie. Like, I didn't know a lot of the stuff that was in the movie because, like, I didn't know Ironheart was in the movie, for example. Like, and then I found out afterwards that she was part of, like, different advertising and stuff, and people were clowning on the way her suit looked, which I thought it looked pretty fucking cool. But I
didn't mind.
I didn't know she was going to be in the movie at all. So when they were talking about finding a scientist, I was just like, oh, like, in my head I was still trying to figure out who the scientist might be. But then when they said, like, it's a little girl, I was like, oh shit. I was like, is that going to be the new Ironheart girl? And it ended up being. I was like, that's really cool.
Me and you had a similar experience. I actually did not consume any of the trailers or stuff like that before this movie came out. In fact, I remember going to the movies because I have that AMC pass. I always talk about it, where I could see like 3 movies a week and I pay $23 a month for it. And so I can basically see as many movies as I want, and I see a lot of things. And obviously, when you go to see movies, they have previews or trailers before the movie. And there was a period where every time I went to the movies, every Saturday or whatever, the Wakanda Forever trailer would come on, and I would just go on my phone. Like, I would just be in my phone. And so I would hear a lot of nonsense. And the one part that always made me like really emotional, and we're going to definitely talk about this, is like Angela Bassett really carried this movie for me. The part where she says, "I'm the queen of the most powerful nation in the world. Have I not given everything?" That part makes me want to cry. Like, literally, the pain in her voice from just that part, like hearing that loud as shit, you could just hear the emotion when she says it. Like, I am the queen of the most powerful nation in the world. Like, I have nothing. Like, have I not given everything? Like, that shit really, really got to me. But I didn't know about Ironheart. I actually had to do research after seeing Wakanda Forever to even know who the hell Ironheart was. Because I remember hearing like years ago that there was essentially a black girl who is a Tony Stark, like spinoff type of, like the Iron Man spinoff.
She's one of the smartest characters in the Marvel comic books. I think her intelligence rivals like Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, who is, if you don't know, like one of the absolute smartest people in the entire Marvel universe. So she's like insanely intelligent, and she rivals his intelligence at like 13 years old.
Yes,
like she is,
to put it into perspective,
she's very, very, very broken.
So
and,
I didn't know
built
about
her own suit.
She built her own suit, and her first version obviously was like whatever, and they showed that one. And then obviously once she gets to Wakanda and she gets access to vibranium and better technology, better tools, her suit gets insane by the end of the movie. But I didn't know anything about Ironheart. I didn't know. First of all, I still don't fully know much about Namor. Like, I kind of do, but kind of don't want to research everything about him. But I loved him so much that, and I know that they're going to do another movie with him because of the way it ended. Where they thought
he's definitely going to still be in the franchise, and like it's really exciting because I want to see what direction they go with him, because if they keep his character good and consistent, like even if they keep him on like the bad side of things, they keep his character consistent, like he could be a really big plus side for the MCU.
I love him, and I love his actor too. I think that his actor does a really good job at portraying the emotions and the sternness that you have to have as a leader, because he has a soft side, and you see the soft side when Shuri goes to visit Talokan. I actually love that scene. I thought that there was like a love thing going on between those two. I thought they were going to start to develop this like a romantic thing. It just seemed like when you watch Aladdin, I Can Show You the World, it literally to me, when he was showing his world and he was showing his people, and they played that one really dope song before he revealed that he created a son. That entire sequence, that song, everything, he was like, the water pressure will crush you and destroy your lungs and you'll die a horrible death, or you can just take a suit. We got a couple in the back. And then like, so he has like a sense of humor too, right? Like everything is not
he's a well-rounded character because he's stern, he's a tough ruler, he's obviously like it's like, I want to call him a xenophobe, but not, it's like we already discussed this, like kind of rightfully so.
Yes.
And
because of experiences.
He's funny, and like he's a very well-rounded character. When you watch him,
he's not some one what do you call it? Like, he's not one faceted. He's not just he's
not a one-dimensional white guy military guy. Like, Marvel loves their white military evil guys.
Yes.
Like, just like old white man in the military. If you see an old white man in the military in Marvel, like, he's probably a bad guy.
Yes, and that is his only dimension too. It's just him being a white evil.
He's
old
just
man.
He's like, don't you see that they have this thing? We could rule the world with this.
Yes, he is way more flushed out. I like his sense of humor. I like that on some things he's like negotiable, and then he has non-negotiables too.
Yeah,
he tells her straight up, that scientist girl represents us having to relocate again. He's like, I'm not moving my people again. He's really stern about that. And you can tell he's done it multiple times now. Like, he's had to move Talokan and all of his people far, far away, despite the fact that they're literally in the ocean somewhere. He's like, I'm not doing that again. I'm good. We found a spot where we're happy, and we should be allowed to just live and be happy away from everyone else. And we don't have to worry about people coming in and attacking us. And so I love his character a lot. I love anybody that's willing to stand up for their people and fight. I respect it a lot. And also seeing his human side is just really dope to me. It is interesting though that like because I remember I thought that he was developing a romantic relationship with Shuri. I thought that there was some kind of attraction going on, just the way she was looking at him, the way he was looking at her. And I was like, is there something going on here? And maybe that could be a way, even if they don't necessarily like each other in that way, there could also be something romantic for the sake of combining their tribes, right? Like combining the Wakandians with the Talakan people. And that way you just have this super army, like a marriage pact, right? Like that's what it was used for back in the day anyway. So we will marry these two people together. And that way now we've merged these. So we have the best on the land. And he kind of said this too anyway. He said, if we brought our people together, we have the best on the land and the best in the ocean. The outside world would have no choice but to bow to everything that we say. Like what could they fucking do? They already can't do anything to you guys. So, and he said, I have more soldiers than Wakanda has blades of grass.
Yeah, that was a wild statement. I love when people talk that shit. That is one of those wild things to say.
Blades of grass is insane, Kenny.
to say I got more soldiers than you have blades of fucking grass is absolutely absurd.
When he said that, bro, I kept thinking to myself, oh, this is bad. It's not just bad because they don't have a Black Panther. It's bad even if they had a Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like he's that many soldiers. That's too many.
They're also all like, because like all the Wakandians are very well trained fighters. I would say they're all like, they're not superhuman, but they're definitely peak human above like regular human.
Yeah.
But like these guys, like they can do that siren song thing, which is insane.
Can we talk about that?
Dude, the siren song is so dope.
In the beginning of the movie, I didn't know if that was just the background music, right? Like I didn't know if that was just a choice that the directors chose for that scene to just have that weird eerie sound when they first came. But then the people in the movie were like, what's that sound? And then you started seeing people walking to their death. I was like, oh shit, they have some kind of genjutsu, like a sound genjutsu. That's so broken. Like it's like the Jiraiya Frog song, right? It's literally a sound-based genjutsu. So dope.
That's a classic. It's like part of a classic like mermaid myth. Is like
sirens.
The siren song where they do the little sing
and they lure you in.
You get lured into the ocean and you're dead.
Also, on top of that, so we were talking about their endurance and their ability to do the siren song. They also control whales. That's insane. Yeah. They travel on whales. Like,
what's cool is at first I was thinking like they could only really do that if Namor is around because he's like basically Aquaman, but better.
Yes, definitely. At least the Aquaman that I know. I'm sure that there's a comic book peak Aquaman that's absolutely absurd. It can flood the earth and all this other nonsense like Poseidon. But the Aquaman that I grew up with, the cartoons and stuff like that, he could just
Namor. Yeah,
Namor got him beat.
What I was going to say is, at first I was like, oh, they can only do that with Namor around. Then there's a part where Namor wasn't around and they were still like traveling with whales and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it. I was like, I guess it makes sense that like if you're a group of people that lives underwater, you would literally start to tame these animals the way we do ox and cow and whatever else. So like it makes sense that they could that they would eventually be able to tame whales and these other sea creatures, and they'd be able to travel with them or utilize them in different ways without the help of an Aquaman. Like they don't have to necessarily talk to whales and fish to be able to like, because we can't talk to dogs and cows, but like we're able to tame them and everything. So it makes sense, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it is dope to see that the underwater world has its entire ecosystem intact just as much as the land world does. Like you saw them doing so they can communicate with each other, and he can speak literally underwater, which we saw when he was ready for war. I love that scene, by the way. But he can literally speak underwater. I'm not sure if all of them can, I forget. But literally they have this symbol that they do, which is kind of like a greeting, I guess, but also like a hello and a goodbye. They do this Kamehameha thing, which looks so cool. When I first saw it, I was like, oh shit, they have their, the Wakandians, they have their Wakanda Forever symbol where you cross your arms. And that's the Wakanda, like hello and goodbye. But then the Talakan people also have one that looks like they're doing a Kamehameha, and I really like that too. It's just so dope to see the two worlds existing the way they do. It's really, really cool. I want to talk a bit about Angela Bassett because she's getting her just due right now in real life because of this movie, and it's been long overdue. Angela Bassett is one of the best actresses I've ever seen in my life. If you ever seen a movie What's Love Got to Do with It, you would know that this woman was robbed of an Oscar, in like the 80s. That movie is so insane. She plays Tina Turner. I grew up literally believing that Angela Bassett was Tina Turner because of that movie. That movie, and almost every person I know who's seen that movie said they grew up thinking the same exact thing. They thought that she was Tina Turner because of how well she played that role. And it's a movie that's really dark. It's about her being abused and also obviously her developing music career and becoming the superstar that she eventually became and still is. But it's very convincing. And this is 40 years ago when this movie came out. So it's a really, really good movie. And I thought that she should have won the Oscar then, even though I wasn't even alive. But every time I've seen it, I'm like, man, what actually won? And then I believe that year she got robbed by, I think, Cher. I think Cher ended up winning the Oscar for like best actress or something like that. Somebody for a movie,
just something random.
Whatever it was,
shit like that frustrates me.
Yeah,
because like especially when you look, it's frustrating. I hate like a lot of these awards and award shows, and then I hate a lot of the reverence people give to them, because if you look back a lot of times, you look at things that won awards and you go, oh, this had no long-lasting cultural impact.
Exactly.
Like, Angela Bassett is a huge, super well-known actor and actress. I didn't say actor.
Well, actor's fine too. It encompasses both.
But anyway, she's amazing, does great things. That movie's fucking amazing. And the fact that she didn't win it and then like Cher won it for like something random, it's like it's always so frustrating. Like I know the one I always think of when this gets brought up is like 50 Cent when he came out with Get Rich or Die Trying, which was just the absolute biggest music album that year. And like 50 Cent because of that album, he has been part of our culture going forward, right?
Yep.
He did not win Album of the Year that year.
Everyone remembers where they were in 2003 when Get Rich or Die Trying came out, and like everyone knows exactly what they were doing and where they were.
Yes, and that album didn't win Album of the Year. Some other random like something nobody's ever heard of.
No lasting power whatsoever. Some random, like you said, it is really annoying how award shows sometimes they get it right, and it feels really good when they get it right, because so people always ask, well, why do you care for the validation of the award shows? And it's like, it's not just that. It is nice to be acknowledged for doing good work, right? Like it is nice, even for us, right? Like we like seeing you guys view our content and like our content. We don't do it for that. Like we don't do this podcast. We don't do anything that we do for likes and views. We do it because we genuinely like nerd shit. And there wasn't a podcast like this out there that talks about not only just like Yu-Gi-Oh! And card games, but also just all nerd stuff. And we do it for that. And it is nice to be acknowledged. So
it feels really good to be appreciated and like you said, acknowledged. There was another word in my head, but whatever. It's all the same thing. It feels really nice because, like, if you work really hard and do this thing, even if you're doing it for yourself or it's something that you love, like, when you get that accolade or you get that appreciation, it's like, man, it just feels really good. And that's something that award shows, that's a good thing about them. It's just frustrating because it feels like a lot of times, like,
there's more politics and stuff that play into it that are kind of bullshit. They just don't get it right often. And like I said, when they do get it right, it feels really nice, because I think that something that award shows don't always take into account is cultural impact. And Kenny brought this up, but I want to expand on that. I think that the impact that music or a film has on people should factor into them winning the award. Like this whole thing of, oh, this guy plays 11 instruments and like the music is really cool, but no one really cares or knows about it like that. That's often who they give those awards to. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like he's a great instrumentalist, right? That's cool. But 50 Cent literally sold 1 million copies in a week, less than a week.
Yeah. He
sold 1 million copies of his album. This is back before streaming. He sold 1 million physical copies of Get Rich or Die Trying, right? Before streaming even existed. Physical. That means you had to go to Tower Records or FYE. The stuff that I'm saying right now, a lot of people listening to this probably don't even know what the hell I'm saying. Like these places where you physically buy stuff.
It's one of the best performing albums of all time. Yes. Like it is. I think it went diamond or double diamond, whatever the fuck,
by now,
whatever the accolade is.
By now, it's been 20 years actually since it came out. For sure, it has done everything you've said. And so back to the point about Angela Bassett. What's Love Got to Do With It is one of the best movies I've ever seen, especially from an acting perspective. If you watch that movie today, like if you put that on after this podcast and you watch What's Love Got to Do With It, it is one of the best performances I've ever seen, period, by an actor. So anyway, she just won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress in a movie a couple weeks ago. And it was a huge deal. It was everywhere. It was all over my Instagram. It's all over TikTok, all over Facebook and stuff like that. And she is also the first actor of anything MCU related that has won an award for the MCU. So Angela Bassett, out of everyone, Chris Evans,
Oh wow.
Robert Downey Jr., Tom Holland, the guy who plays Thor, I forget his, Chris, was it? I forget his name. There you go.
Hemsworth.
Yes. So out of everyone, of all the big, Scarlett Johansson, of all the big actors, there's a ton, and I could keep on going. Samuel L. Jackson's in MCU. Everyone's in MCU, right? Out of every single person you've ever seen in the MCU, Benedict Cumberbatch, who's been nominated for Best Actor before because of other roles he's done, not for anything in the MCU, but other roles that he's done. And he's one of the best actors I've ever seen, as well as one of my favorites. He also has never been nominated for anything in the MCU. So Angela Bassett is the first person ever to be nominated and also to win. She also won the award.
All right.
For best
Let me
actress.
say this. First of all, she fucking deserves it. And she deserved to get accolades like this years ago. But she deserves it, and I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
But second of all, once again, still to the point we're making, cultural impact and like long-lasting effects and how big the thing actually was, how the fuck hasn't any other MCU actor
That's
won
because
something?
I hate this. I hate this so much, Kenny. So certain movies, certain genres of movies don't even get considered for
They don't
Oscar.
get the respect. And
they don't even get
bullshit.
considered. Like comedy movies basically don't really get respected either. And that's kind of bullshit. Like it's just kind of bullshit that like if you're in a comedy, essentially, there's not really an award for you. They put you in this award, the category for best musical or comedy, I think they say.
Yeah, bullshit.
And like,
dude,
why am I competing with musicals? Like, why is Dave Chappelle competing with fucking musicals? That doesn't even. Anyway, go ahead. What were you going to say the other night?
The other night, me and my girlfriend just rewatched Life, the movie with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy.
Love it.
And we just watched it again. And it's just crazy when you watch it because, yeah, it's a comedy movie. It's really funny and stuff. But it's just a good movie. With I didn't look back. I don't know if it won any awards back then. But it had really great acting. It was really funny. But it also had a good story and good messaging. So like the movie, and it has like emotion in it. The movie is like a complete movie. So to get it to the point, the Marvel movies, yeah, they're superhero movies. They do all this stuff. A lot of them are bad, but there's some that are really good that have great actors in it that do great acting and awesome performances. So like the fact that none of them have ever won anything in that regard is kind of insane.
It is. I agree 100%. And I'm happy that Angela Bassett is like, I guess, opening the door for the MCU, for the actors in the MCU to have a chance now, because it's possible. She showed that it was possible. She's also nominated for the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. So she already won the Golden Globe. She's pretty much won every award outside of the Oscar so far, and the Oscars hasn't aired yet, but she's nominated for it. So and the nomination just came out like last week. So hopefully
she wins that too.
That will be her first Oscar, if I'm not mistaken. For me, and I guess maybe even for her, but it will really right the wrong that the Academy did 40 years ago, where they just gave the award to some fucking movie that honestly is not a cultural iconic movie. It's not something that people talk about to this day in a great high esteem. And it was more so political because I think Cher was one of those people going for like an Oscar or a Grammy and all that. You know how all the politics of that stuff. It's kind of how like Lady Gaga. Granted, I love Lady Gaga, but I think that they're really trying to push for her to get like the EGOT status where, you know, she has the Grammy, then she won an Oscar for that movie. I'm off the deep end, watch how I die.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what it's called, but that movie was actually really good.
I can't hear that song anymore without thinking of Smash, because one of the Summits, Hungry Box, did like a remix of that song about him stalling. Stalling. That shit was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, it's called The Shallow. There we go. So she won an Oscar for that song, and I think that the song is phenomenal. It's actually that year I played that song a lot. And I'm not saying that Lady Gaga doesn't deserve the awards and all that stuff, but I'm just saying that back in 1980, whatever, when Angela Bassett was nominated for What's Love Got to Do with It, there's no way you can look at every movie in that category and not tell me that she didn't deserve it. Also, if you just watch it, it is absolutely insane. So really happy for her. I want to talk about some of the scenes that she carried, because I do genuinely think that she carried this movie on her back. Like every actor in this movie was amazing, but her acting was on a different level for this one. It was so emotional from the very first scene that you see her in. When Shuri, it kind of opens out with Shuri praying, which is something that she does not do ever. She's a scientist. So she doesn't believe in all of these gods and an ancestral plane and all things that the Wakandians pray to. It's kind of a jab at modern religion too, because the further we get into technology, the more people start to become atheists. So Shuri is an atheist.
Yeah.
And the movie opens up, the very first words you hear.
The thing that's funny though is that that is true for real life, but like that shit is just real in the movie.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
like,
Yes.
the guy, it's funny because like in our reality, like there's no proof that it's real, but like in their reality, they do a prayer, drink a juice, and Superman becomes real.
Yes.
Like,
No, you're 100%. That's what's funny about Game of Thrones too. Remember how we talk about Game of Thrones and how some of the gods we can't really tell if they're real. But the Lord of Light,
he's real.
The fucking Lord of Light resurrected. The Hound cut somebody in half. Okay. He cut a guy, I think his name was Beric Dondarrion. He cut that guy in fucking half. And Thoros of Myr started praying, the red, whatever shit they say. He started praying to the Lord of Light, and Beric Dondarrion got back up completely.
Yes, he
like,
did.
He completely got back up. And there's a lot of other stuff that happens in Game of Thrones that proves that the Lord of Light is 100% real. Like, you can't even debate. It's just it's real. And it's funny you say that because yes, in the MCU, the gods or whatever they pray to in Wakanda are 100% real, but Shuri doesn't really believe in them. And she doesn't believe in them because bad things have happened to her, which is what causes a lot of people to become atheists. So in the beginning of the movie, I actually love that it starts off the very first words of her saying, please, if you heal my brother, I will never doubt your existence ever again. And then the doors open, she walks into the lab, and it's this chaotic scene. I love this movie from start to finish. It's like chaos. All these scientists, they're all working around the clock and frantically trying to create a synthetic heart-shaped herb. And that is the same thing you take to become the Black Panther, to get all the superpowers, and it will also heal him of any illnesses, because it keeps you from ever being sick, which is broken, just like a nice little thing. Like, you can't even get a cold now, which is like just an added effect, right? So they're trying to create a synthetic heart-shaped herb to make Chadwick Boseman, the original Black Panther, or not the original, but the one that we know in MCU anyway. But they're trying to make sure that he doesn't die because his heart rate is decreasing. So her AI is talking to her and is saying, your brother's, his heart is failing. And then one scientist says, you should go be with him now. And she's like, I don't have time for that. And she's like, what's the chances that this heart-shaped herb that we just made is going to actually produce the result that I want? And her AI tells her it's only at like 22%. And she says, I don't have time, print it. And he's like, Shuri, I don't think that this is going to work. And she's like, I can't be bothered with that right now. Like the self-doubt and stuff like that. This is the best we got. If 22% is the highest chance I have to save my brother, she's like, it just has to work. So she starts going to print it. And then she says, she asked the AI, what's my brother's heart rate? And every time she asks that, it gets lower and lower. And then it just stops responding. And then her mom comes in, Queen Ramonda, and she's like, your brother is with the ancestors. And the second she says that, so I don't know if it's because, like, I'm just going to say this. I don't know if it's because I am African-American and like this movie is obviously very based in Black culture and just like Black people and their struggles and like all stuff that, we've gone through and go through. When I immediately, the pain in her voice of like losing her son, it just made me start to tear up. And then the movie goes into his funeral scene. And what I love about it is it's kind of a cool juxtaposition because the funeral part is a bit sad too, where they're all dressed in white, which is a contrast to what we normally do in American culture where everyone wears black to funerals. They all wear white, which I think is actually pretty cool because it's more of a celebration as opposed to something to necessarily be sad for. And so after they say, like they have his casket or whatever, and they kind of say their words, and it's really emotional. Then it goes into the actual celebration where everyone in Wakanda kind of comes out in their white outfits and they're dancing in the streets and they're like super happy that he has gone to the ancestral plane. And you see this really big mural and they show Angela Bassett's character, Queen Ramonda. She's like, she's walking towards, I guess, where they're going to take his casket up into the ship and fly it off. But as she's walking, it goes into a slow motion thing. And as it goes into slow motion, you see her face, you see the sadness, and then they showed the mural of Chadwick Boseman, right? And it stays on that for like literally a minute. Like there's a minute of the movie that is just dedicated to his face with like these words on it in Wakandan language. And it's just really, really, really sad, but also a happy moment that they're celebrating at the same time. Like they literally show all the people dancing and stuff. And it's
Yeah,
so
the
cool.
celebration of his life and him going to the next plane. It is really cool. It's a cool for the character in the series. It's a cool way to handle what unfortunately happened in real life, and it's also cool. It's cool that the movie plays like what would kind of play out as a dedication to that character, how it would happen in that universe, but also it plays out as like a dedication to the actor as well. And
Yes.
it's done like it's just done in a really, really well way. In a way where if for whatever reason the storyline was written that the Black Panther died and all this stuff, like I don't think it would have been as drawn out. Like I feel like they
Yeah.
they did more for it because not only was it a celebration of the character in that story, it was a celebration of the actor. And then in my opinion, it ended up really helping the overall feel and tone of the movie because that's the kind of celebration that would have been given to that character anyway.
Yes.
So
I really do love how they honored him in the movie. And I think that they did the best that they could do with having lost the actual actor in real life.
yeah,
Like there was a lot of conversation about what to do with the Black Panther because Chadwick Boseman passed away, and some people were like, "Oh, well, there shouldn't be a Black Panther anymore." And I think that's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's stupid to just downright say like there should just not be someone to replace him. We've had 18 Batmen, 18 Supermen, 23 Flashes, 14 Wonder Womans. Like there's no reason that you can't have another Black Panther because the actor died. Like I love Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther as well, just like anyone else. But at the end of the day, I'm a person that believes the show must go on.
also the whole point of the Black Panther is that like the power passes on to somebody else. Now,
Eventually,
granted,
yes.
in that first movie, that all those plants got destroyed, but if anybody on any planet thought that was going to be the last Black Panther, they're fucking kidding themselves. Like
Yeah.
obviously, the most advanced technological country on the nation is going to find a way to recreate the Black Panther powers.
Yes. So I was really happy that the way Marvel did it, I think they did the right thing making Shuri the next Black Panther. Apparently in the comics, she actually does become the Black Panther for a period. So it's not a complete ass pull. It's not like they made Queen Ramonda the Black Panther. Like it's not something crazy. It could have been M'Baku too, but they make Shuri the Black Panther, which is canonically correct.
The only thing that threw me off was like when it was getting closer to it, because when she was like when she laid down on the table to drink the juice,
Yeah.
and then again when she's in the Black Panther suit, I was like, man, she's just really fucking skinny.
She is.
Like, she's just really skinny, and like it's fine, but she's really skinny, and so to me visually, she doesn't fill the suit out well.
She doesn't.
You know what I mean?
But
And
they made her like a actual black cat. And in a sense of she's very fast, nimble, and very hard to hit because of her actual stature. So the way her Black Panther, because they seem different, like hers and Chadwick's seem very different. The way hers moves is more like an actual cat. Like it just has
it did feel very cat-like. It was funny because I saw I don't remember her name, but on this wallpaper, maybe you remember the name. The girl on the left, she was the spy.
I forget her name too. I literally
she was
can't
like
remember.
their best spy. She's the shit. Anyway, I was like she could fill the suit out better.
Yes.
Like she has a thicker body. And then obviously the one guy, the fucking
M'Baku.
the dude, yeah, he's the man.
He's
I
hilarious.
mean, he might be too big to be the Black. He's like the Black fucking lion or some shit.
He would be terrifying if he was
he's
the Black
huge.
Panther.
But he'd be so scary.
I think he'd be broken because you get super speed anyway when you're the Black Panther. Like that comes with it. Shuri's probably just really, really, really fast because of how small she is. But he would also just be fucking fast as hell. Too fast to be that big. And he's already super strength. He's already has super strength too because he does stuff that I'm like, okay, you can clearly tell, like you said, these people are above normal human level. Like they're basically Batman realm where they're peak human. So for all intents and purposes, the Wakandians, the ones in the military, they do have like super strength. Their durability is much higher than a normal human's. I think at one point, I want to talk about this too. Okoye, when she fought the main blue general guy, I love that scene, by the way, where there was no sound. It was just all action. They were on the bridge. And at first he gets like a couple good licks on her, and he does a noble thing and says like, pick up your spear, let's fight. Like, I'm not going to hit you while you're on the ground. So he like kicks her spear over at her. He turns his back. He's really cocky. He like turned his back. He's like doing a little walk around thing, like a really cocky, like I'm stronger than you. I think I can beat you anyway. So she picks up the fucking spear. She gets up. She's like, all right, you want it? I got you. And she starts fighting. She starts fucking this man up nicely. Like she does that one thing. She grips his neck and like mashes one of his eyes or something like that. She gives him a nut shot at one point. So she gets a couple good licks on him, but then he does this crazy ass thing where he jams the spear into the ground and clotheslines her arm against it.
Oh my God. Dude, when she spun her around and she pinged off that fucking spear.
And then her arm was broken. Her arm was literally broken backwards. I say, yo, this guy is too much. But again, to kind of emphasize the fact that these people are peak human or above human level, she literally, as she's crawling backwards, and she realizes that he's not going to attack because he's like really noble. He will not attack her on the ground. While she's on the ground, she literally like breaks her arm back, gets back up and starts fighting again. Like she just completely goes through, like a human can't do that. We can't,
no, not at all.
Can't re-break our arm and then grab a spear and start fighting again. That's just not something that a normal human being could do. Like, sure, you can re-break your arm to fix it, but you will not be able to pick up a spear and start to actually fight somebody who's on that
You'll
level.
Also scream in pain.
Yes.
Like it's insane. Speaking of action sequences and the way the new Black Panther fights, bro, one of the best action sequences in movies, in my opinion. What an awesome fucking fight scene is when they're fighting on the side of the boat.
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
When they jump off and they're on the side of the boat and they're like swinging and clanging and hanging and all this, and they're moving around. And then like, there's the part where like, they're on the ropes and like the men are holding the women as the women are running along the side. And then the one girl comes down and she has her spear and like the Black Panther fucks some people up and then like does a flip, swings off the spear like fucking Donkey Kong, flips, goes over here. Like, bro, that shit was crazy.
When they showed Shuri finally come in as the Black Panther and she started slashing people with the claws, then she would kick off of them and do a backflip, and then she would like start to run like a cat. That's what I mean. Chadwick, he had obviously cat-like fighting style too, but it's just different. Like hers was like a house cat in a way. Like it just looked really fucking cool. I love all of the action sequences. Like we did talk about Namor when he invaded Wakanda, which that scene, another great moment for Angela Bassett's character because she ends up saving the Ironheart girl, which was really dope. And I love that she got literally blasted by one of those water bombs they have. Those water bombs look really dope.
They do.
When they
really do.
When they first used one on Okoye on the bridge, because they were like, what's taking you so long to deal with this fucking person? Like, we don't have time. Why are you taking so long to deal with this girl? And they toss these, we don't even know what it is. They toss this bag to him, and then he kicks it to her, to Okoye, and she slashes it with the fucking spear. And when she slashes it, it was like, big mistake. You just made a bad move. And they explode, and it goes into slow motion. It looks really sick. It's like literally a water grenade, so it blasts her off the bridge and into the water. And I was like, no. I thought she was dead at first, but I was like, no. And then come to find, she just literally just got blasted by it. So she gets back up. But then they use them again. I get why Angela Bassett, one, was murdered. I get why she had to die. But it does suck to have two big deaths like that in a movie because the movie has two funeral sequences in it. And the second one, to me, I was kind of like, all right, the movie started with this. Like, it literally started with the whole, Chadwick Boseman's dead, the Black Panther's dead, and everyone's mourning him. Everyone celebrates him after that. But then when Queen Ramonda dies, I was like, God damn it. I really wanted her to live because I was enjoying her acting so well. I was enjoying her role. And I didn't think that she needed to die, but I get why Namor did it. So they come to Talokan in like the middle of the movie to retrieve Princess Shuri and Ironheart. And when they do, well, it's really just the main spy girl that goes. But when she does come, she fires off one of her rounds that literally kills one of the Talokan people. And so that is an act of war. That's an act of war. And like if an American citizen was killed by a foreigner, that is considered an act of war. In fact, wars have started over things like that in Europe. World War II started with I think it was the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand or something like that in Poland. So that is literally that was the beginning of World War II. Like a guy gets killed by a foreign nation, a foreign government or whatever, that causes wars. So this person who we don't even know who this person was that got killed by a Wakanda person. But that when Namor sees that, he's like, okay, so you just killed one of my people and it's on. Like, it's fucking on. So he said, I have more soldiers than this place has blades of grass. And he shows that. They rise up, they attack Wakanda. And at the last minute, when I thought, like, okay, at least Queen Ramonda didn't die, he literally throws in those, like, bomb things. And by the time Shuri and them get to her, she's been drowned, and he's just standing there. He's like, mourn your losses, bury your dead, do something else. I'll be back in a week, and you're the queen now. That like whole sequence that he, like that entire part when he says it like that, like mourn your losses, bury your dead, remember this day, you are queen now, and I'll be back in a week. Like that whole thing was insane to me. Like it was really, really sick.
What a fucking good actor. What good scenes, what good writing. Like the movie really holds its own. It is a shame that Angela Bassett's character is dead. Once again, like I get it. Couple things. One, it made sense within the script. It made sense actually within the script for it to happen, like within the story that was being told. Yeah. But it's also just the trope. If you're a hero, your parents die. Yeah. And because Shuri was becoming a hero, her mom needed to die. Like
we don't know many heroes with parents that are alive. Yeah, that's actually just true.
To become a hero, like you need dead parents. Like it just has to happen. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of that entire part. Also, I want to talk about some of the funny parts because this movie was actually funny as hell. Like for no reason, this movie was just hilarious. There was the one part where M'Baku walks in after Namor first visits Wakanda. So this is when he first sneaks in. They're like, how the hell did he get here? And they were unarmed, and he ran up on Queen Ramonda and Princess Shuri. So M'Baku walks into the throne room, and it's beautiful. It's like Queen Ramonda's on the throne. All the other tribes have gathered there, and they're arguing. And at one point, Okoye says something. He's like, "You bald-headed demon." And I started dying. How is he just gonna call her a bald-headed demon? When I tell you my movie theater erupted, like we erupted in laughter because that shit, he said it so matter of fact, and he comes in eating like a hot dog or a beef jerky or some shit.
Yeah.
And he also pointed at her. He's like, "You bald-headed demon." And the way he says that shit was so funny to me. But then there's other parts that are really, this movie was like, again, it was really funny. There's another part where they go to find the scientist, right? And they find out that it's a kid. So she's at MIT, which is basically the best school in America for technology, right? Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And when they get there, they're observing the kids in action. They're observing Ironheart in action. She's like basically extorting this kid, kinda. The kid owed her money. He owed her 800. She's like, that was yesterday's price. Today it's 1,000 because you fucked around, didn't Venmo me yet. So now you got to pay a $200 extra. He's like, that's fucked up. That's predatory. But she's like, listen, what grade did you get? And he's like, you know what? You're right. Send that 1,000. So they're observing this whole situation. And as they're observing, Okoye's like, is that an iPhone? Ugh, primitive. And I started dying because the iPhone for us is like one of the best phones in the world. Like that is literally, that it's just insane that the way they look down on us, because this is obviously all a fantasy world, but their technology is so advanced that the iPhone is literally considered primitive.
That shit made me laugh too.
Yes, when Okoye said primitive, I started dying. There's just multiple things like that throughout the movie that I just find to be very funny. Again, the scene that I brought up earlier where Namor is like, if you tried to go to Talokan, your lungs will be crushed, you die a horrible death and drown. He's like, or you can just take a suit. We got some in the back. And the way he says it, he smiles when he says it. And then the next scene, she's just in this like really bulky suit. It's really funny. There's just a lot of that.
Fucking Ironheart, Riri Williams, she made me laugh too. There's a couple parts she made me laugh, but the one part I'm remembering right now is after Shuri took juice and got superpowers, and she goes and like punches the thing, and the thing flies across the room. Riri goes, "Can I get some of that?"
Yeah. Why can only one person take it, right? Like,
yeah, like let me get some of that. What the fuck?
That I guess it's actually explained in the sense that once one person takes the heart-shaped herb and they go to the ancestral plane, I don't think the ancestors will honor well, first of all, they wouldn't honor Riri from the Lost Tribe anyway. And they consider all black people outside of Wakanda to be from the Lost Tribe. So like I'm considered the Lost Tribe because I'm an American and I don't know anything about Wakanda. I also don't know where I really hail from because of like the effects of slavery and stuff like that. Like I have no idea. I can't trace my actual history back to the point where I know where I literally come from. Like people often ask me, you know, like I started off saying Kenny is Portuguese and Italian. I'm just African American. I actually do not know like where. Like, I wouldn't know if I'm from Ghana. I wouldn't know if I'm from Haiti. I wouldn't know if I'm from Jamaica or some other island. I have no idea like where my actual people in my family come from. And some people, like there are Black people obviously who know, like I'm Jamaican, like they come from Jamaica, like I am from Haiti, like I'm Haitian. I don't know at all. I have no idea, and no one in my family does because we literally can't trace it back that far, which really sucks. But so they call us like the lost tribe in that world, which I actually really like that name. It is condescending in a way, but it also is like we were all at one point African tribes, and now like being taken from our motherland and stuff like that, like we are like the lost tribe. So the ancestors would not give us superpowers. So Riri Williams, Ironheart would not be able to get them from drinking heart-shaped herbs. In fact, it might have a negative response to her. But we do know the two can exist at one time because Michael B. Jordan in the first movie was able to also access the ancestral plane and get powers from somewhere too. So it is possible for there to be like two Black Panther people at the same time. That is definitely dope. But I think that scene was really funny. Also, I think Shuri said something about tie me down just in case I go into cardiac arrest. And Ironheart was looking at her like, wait, what? What'd she just say? And they ignored her too. They didn't answer the question. They didn't say anything.
But also the part where the one girl comes into her dorm and she has a spear. She's like, "You brought a spear into my house?" Like something like
she
that.
Was like, I like this girl. She was like, you have two choices, American girl. You can either come to Wakanda consciously or unconsciously. And the way she's looking at her, it's like really creepy because Okoye doesn't really smile, but she's trying to like hold back and not be so mean about everything because she's so stern on everything.
Yeah.
So she's trying her hardest to like, that's her polite, which is wild. That's her being polite. And then Riri grabs her heater and she's like, you need to back up looking all crazy like that with that ash on your forehead. And
yeah.
And there was a scene earlier where I think Okoye was talking about, does this makeup make me look like I'm ashy? Because she's like, I feel like I look a little ashy. And she's like, no, you look fine. And so when Riri says that, she's like, I told you I looked ashy and you didn't tell me the truth. And she's like, no, you look fine. She's like, why don't we just let the American girl deal with the merman with the wings on his legs? Why don't we just let her deal with him on her own? And she's like, oh, yeah. You deal with him with your heater. And then you start walking out the room. And then, once they get to her little secret hideout, you realize, all right, she came with them because the alternative was dealing with some creature that you don't even know what the hell it is. Like, at least with the Wakandians, they look like you. They are being kind of friendly in a way. Like, they're not outright killing you or anything like that. But, yeah, lots of funny scenes. Like you said, the colonizer in chains thing, I never thought I'd see today. That was really funny. And then I think good. A lot of the scenes with him in general, the guy, I forget the agent's name, but he has...
Yeah, I don't remember his name either, but he's also with Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld. I don't know her name in MCU, but...
Me either. But she is working for the feds, the federal government, and I think the CIA specifically. And so she's like the head of the CIA, and apparently they used to be married or dated or something like that.
Yeah.
She's
also the person that's collecting people and creating like this little collection of heroes. Like she was at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier and took fuck is his name? Fake Captain America.
Fake Captain America, the one with the punchable face.
Yeah. She took him and she's been at the end of a couple movies, like collecting people and doing some behind the scenes shit.
I did notice that. So she's in this, and there was a funny scene where she said, "Have you been working out?" And he was like, "Yeah, I have been. I've been definitely taking care of myself, like working out and stuff." And she's like, "All right, well maybe I'll come over and get on top of that Peloton." And that was blatantly sexual innuendo, which caught me off guard because in the MCU, there's not much of that, I would say. Like, they do make jokes and they curse and stuff like that. But the sexual innuendo, I wasn't ready for. So when she said, maybe I'll come and jump on top of that Peloton, I was like, hey, yo, like, what is going on? And even I think he even makes a look like, what the? Because they were romantically involved at one point. So it's obvious that she's talking about, like, I'm going to fuck you. But the way she said it, like, I'm going to ride you, was wild. So that caught me off guard. I thought it was funny, but I also just wasn't expecting it at all. But yeah, this movie has a lot of funny parts. Also, I think to transition to another part that I thought was really, really cool, and it also has that actress, Elaine, in it, is when he was saying, do you know what the US would do if we were the only nation in the world to have vibranium? And she says, oh, I dream of it. And the way she says it is actually, you could tell, like, it's in a sinister way.
Yeah, that was some good acting there too. Like her face, like everything she in that scene, it's like, oh, she's acting her ass off right now.
That was really good. Wasn't it good? That part where he said, could you imagine what we would do if we were the only nation to have vibranium? She said, oh, I dream of it. And it was
Yeah.
it was such a, because we know from real life how Americans, we create weapons of mass destruction. Our biggest spending is our military. Like, we have the biggest military budget in the entire world. And that's if you combine every other military, China's, Russia's, every other military in the world, if you combine their spending budget, it's not even half of ours. So we have the biggest spending budget for national defense and for militaristic reasons than anyone else in the world. And if you combine every other military in the world, it's just like not even close. Like, the US is just so insane on how much we put into our military and just creating weapons and weapons and weapons. And so when she said that, you just knew exactly what the intent was behind it. Not to mention, because I was talking about Angela Bassett a minute ago, and I want to get back to her best scene in a movie was when they come into that, it's like a conference or a council meeting between all the governments in the world. And they kind of spliced that scene, that whole court hearing, with an invasion by French or whatever foreign governments that are not Wakandian. They kind of spliced that scene.
I think it was France in that instance. I think the one lady, which, by the way, like, be careful who you're pointing the finger at if you got shit on your finger. Because she's just in there like, well, you Wakandians have vibranium, and I heard vibranium can make nukes. And she's like talking all this shit, knowing full well she just sent soldiers in there. Like, what do you do? Like,
yeah,
like, why don't you relax? Like, you can't have like this formal court hearing thing and act like you're holier than thou when you know that you're actively attacking that country. Like, you're going to get caught.
That is how political people are actually trash. And I love that they showed that, because they're good liars. Like, she pretended as though she was holier than thou and this super good person, right? But in reality, she's just scum of the earth like everyone else who just wants those weapons for themselves to do bad things with them. And so that scene, Angela Bassett acted her ass off. They splice it with them invading. And like, at first it seems like the outside governments or the outside soldiers were actually getting in on the Wakandians. But then all of the scientists in the Wakandian lab were genuinely fighters. So when they thought that they had them, when they opened up the thing where they thought the vibranium would be, the Dora Milaje comes out, and they also just like don't get hit by any of the bullets. They completely slice all the weapons up and beat the soldiers really badly. And as they're saying that, Angela Bassett gives a speech about how the biggest threat with vibranium is not, like, it's not us, it's you. The reason why we keep this shit secret and to ourselves is because of you. It's always been because of you guys. And on top of that, there was an attack on multiple of our, intelligent bases on multiple of our labs. And the perpetrators of that is being uploaded to your phones right now. And so, like, as she's speaking, everyone's phone is going off, and there's like images of the attackers being uploaded and what government they come from. And then as she says that, like, the doors open, and then all of the Dora Milaje walk in, and then they escort the prisoners in. And she says something in Wakanda, in the Wakanda language. And when she says it, they understand. And she says kneel. Mm-hmm. When she says kneel, they all kneel, which is so funny because, like, how do these people, but they clearly trained them, which is funny. They trained them to know, like, you're a prisoner, you will kneel when I say this. Anyway, she says it. They all get on their knees. They, like, unmask them all. And they're blatantly just, like you said, they're most likely the French people's soldiers. And she said, consider this an olive branch, right? Like, consider my response to this aggressiveness towards Wakanda an olive branch. Going forward, any more attempts to discover vibranium and to attack Wakanda will be met with a much more stern, and she like flexes, like she literally flexes her arms. She's like, it will be met with a much more stern response. She was like, I understand that the outside world has been working night and day to discover vibranium, and I wish you the best. But don't ever think that because Wakanda no longer has a Black Panther, that she is unprotected and weak.
That shit was so good.
For me, I was like, give her the Oscar right now. Like, that scene right there, give her the Oscar right now.
That was a really well done scene. She definitely has some awesome scenes in this movie.
She carried. And then again, we only talked about it briefly, but the scene where M'Baku calls Koye, you bald-headed demon. In that scene, that's where they're arguing and bickering, and she like cuts everybody off, and she starts yelling, and she's like, I'm the queen of the most powerful nation in the world. Like, have I not given everything? Like, my son is gone.
Yeah.
And everything. And my daughter is also gone now.
Yeah, and because she was saying that to the girl, because she was basically saying, like, you're stripped of your titles. Like, I trusted you. You took my daughter out there, and, like, she got kidnapped and captured. I was worried about Namor. You told me not to worry. And stripped her. And then the one guy was trying to say like, hey man, like cut her some slack. Like she has been super loyal to us, even when her husband was a traitor. For a second, it took me a second to
Right.
remember who her
Daniel
husband
Kaluuya.
was, but it was I don't remember his name, but it's the guy from the first movie. I think it was the
Yes,
guy
he's
that
from
like
Get
herds
Out.
the rhinos.
Yeah,
Like
he's
he
from Get
rides the
Out as
rhinos.
well.
Yeah,
I only know his real actor, like his actual name is Daniel Kaluuya, but he's from Get Out, and he's from a couple other good movies too. He's from Up, I think it's called, the one that just came out last year. And I don't know his name in the MCU at all, but he was a traitor in the first movie. Yep.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, that scene was crazy because that's when she was saying like her husband, yeah, he's a traitor and what like he's still alive. Like
Yes.
my family is fucking dead.
She said you could go see him whenever you so choose. He's in a place that you could go to whenever you feel like it. Whereas my son and my husband are in the ancestral plane, and my daughter is no longer here. I felt so bad for Okoye in that scene. I teared up for multiple scenes in this movie. The beginning, like soon as it started, when she said your brother's with the ancestors, and it was just like this really emotional thing, and then that funeral thing. Like I didn't fully cry right there, but I did start to cry when she had that outburst about how she's lost everything. Like that part made me cry, and then I also started to cry when she actually passed away. But yes, in the
Yeah.
scene where Okoye was being chastised and reprimanded for losing Princess Shuri, I felt so bad for Okoye because I know that obviously she would give her life for Princess Shuri. And
Yeah, there was nothing, and she tried. There was nothing she could do.
there was
She
nothing
was
she could.
outnumbered,
Yep.
and she put up a damn good
She
fight.
did.
Like,
She hurt that guy. Like she actually physically hurt him. Another thing, she beat all of the foot soldiers. She beat them all, and she said, I gave them all killing blows, and they got back up. Like, but they didn't get back up until that guy came. So there's still some powers that the Talokan people have because they can be resurrected, and I don't quite get that part. Like she killed 3 of them, flat out killed them. And they confirmed that when she said, I gave them all killing blows and they got back up.
yeah, they were fucking wild. So it sucked. I always not hate as in I think it's bad writing, hate as in like emotionally. I hate in whatever you're watching, whatever story it is, when a character that you know gave their everything and they are super loyal and they did everything they could, when they kind of get the bad end of this, when like in that instance, like she was taking her anger out on her. She lost her husband, her son, and now her daughter, and she was like, I fucking trusted you, and like Okoye is like getting all of this heat, and it's like at the end, it's like, dude, she did everything. She's one of your most loyal, like, and it just like it sucks in those moments when like everything's coming down on them, and it's like they're good and they're loyal and all this other shit, and like they're just kind of like getting the brunt of all the damage. It fucking sucks, man.
I will say this though, in Queen Ramonda's defense, she did say, I do not want Shuri on this mission. And that part,
yeah.
So I feel bad because we are in agreement here in the sense that Okoye gave everything. She literally did what she could. And if she could have died to protect Princess Shuri and make sure she returned to Wakanda, she actually 100% would have. It just wasn't in the cards that day. But like she 100% meant to protect her, but at the same time, I get where Queen Ramonda comes from too, because she's experiencing all of this loss, and then for her to say, "I do not want Princess Shuri on this mission. You go by yourself. Do not bring my daughter into it." Then for you to bring your daughter, or bring her daughter, I should say, and then for her to get captured is like, oh, so fuck me, right? Like fuck what I said. Yeah. So it just really sucks. It really sucks, and that scene was really emotional because Okoye was about to cry too. Like as she was being yelled at, you saw the tears in her eyes, and then she gets expelled and basically like excommunicated or whatever you want to call it. It hurt. It really fucking hurt.
Stripped of all of her titles. It's fucked up.
Yeah, stripped the titles.
And then, oh my god, that's right. Another. Speaking of this character, and just going back to another funny moment, she does not like the new suit that Shuri's making, and the part near the end, when she comes back in and she's like, you want to see the suit, whatever, and then she sees it, and then like she asks if there's another color, and she says no, and then she goes like, what is this called? And then she says Midnight Angel. She goes, Midnight Angel. like, her face contorts up. She goes, Midnight Angel. What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, that part was good.
She was not happy at all with the suit, with the name, and that shit made me laugh.
That was funny.
That was a real reaction. You know what I mean? Like,
because Midnight Angel's so corny.
When somebody tells you some shit, you go, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah, no, Midnight Angel was so corny. I thought that was funny. I also thought that there was another part about the suit earlier where she comes in, she says, "Is it me or is this thing getting more ugly?"
Yeah, it gets uglier every time I see
Yeah,
it.
she's like, "Is it me or is this thing getting uglier and uglier?" So that was amazing. But yeah, I don't know. I love this movie a lot, and I mainly love it because Michael B. Jordan is not predominantly in it. He does have a cameo in the Ancestral Plane, but I did not like the first Black Panther movie mainly because of Michael B. Jordan. I just think that he is just not a very good actor in the MCU. I did not enjoy his performance at all. It was very cringe. It's very robotic. It seemed like he was reading most of his lines in the first one off the teleprompter or something. And it just, yeah, very cringe for me. Despite that, the first movie is still fine. Like, it's still a good movie. It's just
Yeah.
he
I definitely
took
think this movie is a better movie, and
100%.
whether that's because Michael B. Jordan or not, like I just the script, everything about this movie is really, really, really good.
Yes. So
And you
yeah,
know
go
what's
for it.
interesting? I wonder if because like when Shuri goes to the ancestral plane, she sees Michael B. Jordan's character Killmonger. She sees him, and I it makes sense thematically for the things that happened, etc. But I do wonder. I'd like had like you can't help but think like I wonder if like part of the reason why he sees him is because Chadwick Boseman is dead. Like if Chadwick Boseman was alive and like if the
Oh, I get what you're
story had
saying.
played out differently, would they have gotten because like for example, if the script had played out where Black Panther character had died, but Chadwick Boseman was still alive, like I guarantee she would have saw him in the ancestral you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
they can't really get away with doing that. Or
Well,
and
I
another
think
thing is
go ahead,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say I do think that it is I guess before so hold your thought.
Yeah, yeah.
I do think that it is a chance, and I would even say it's a pretty high chance that she was always going to see Michael B. Jordan because of where the state of her heart was.
Yeah, yeah,
She
yeah.
didn't believe in the ancestral plane to begin with. So let's say Chadwick Boseman, he dies in the MCU, but he is still alive, right? If that happened, so that Chadwick Boseman is still alive in real life, so he could still be in MCU movies and stuff like that, I think it actually makes sense because of the way he dies for the script. And let's say that that stays the same. So he dies of an illness,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
For whatever reason, he doesn't die in comic. But let's say he dies the same way. So the opening of the movie is exactly the same, just that the actor's still alive. And
Yeah.
she's still feeling like an atheist. She feels like I hate everything about the world. She says, I think earlier in the movie, I will burn. It wouldn't be these clothes I would burn. It would
Yeah.
be the world. I
When they're doing the ritual where they're burning his funeral clothes, it's supposed to be like the final celebration of his
Yep.
life and like letting go. And she was like, I can't sit around and think about my brother for too long because I won't be burning these clothes. I will burn the world.
Yes. So I think the state of her heart was always meant to see Michael B. Jordan thematically. Like, I think that it really does make sense, not just because Chadwick is dead, but also because of that's how Shuri is all about vengeance at this point. Like, she is on
Yeah.
some, like, but when her mom dies, it's 100% no longer about, like, oh, I just want the Black Panther powers to protect Wakanda. It's like, no, I want the Black Panther powers to cause harm to
Yep.
Namor. Like, I want to harm him. I want to harm his people. I want to cause pain. And so she's feeling, because they say, who did you see? Who did you see? And she's like, no one.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't even tell them. And then her helmet is the giveaway. Because and if you remember from the original movie, he had a suit that was mostly yellow and black. Whereas
Yeah.
the Black Panther one is purple and black. So when you see her helmet and her helmet has the yellow and black in it, it's like, oh no. Like that
Yeah,
is
she took the
100%.
gold one.
Yeah, she took that one. So
Yeah, I thought that was interesting when she took that one. Yeah, it's really cool. I do think it makes sense for her to see him.
yes.
It's just interesting because I think we probably would have got another ancestral plane scene at some point where she
I
would
could
finally see
yes.
Chadwick's character. The other thing I was thinking when she went there is maybe because like some Avatar cycle shit, maybe because not Chadwick, maybe because Killmonger uh destroyed all of the original plants
Yeah.
and he was the last one. I was thinking like, oh, maybe he's the only ancestor left in this place. Like when you like maybe like him burning and like destroying everything, like maybe it was a way where like now when you go there, like it's kind of like the if you ever seen The Last Airbender, when you go into like this sort of same kind of thing, this spirit realm, you see all the previous avatars, you can talk to them, but then after certain events, you might not be able to do that anymore. Anyway, I just thought maybe there was like some other thing there. Like
Yeah,
maybe he severed the connection to like be able to see all of those other ancestors when you go there through this method. But
I will say this. I do think that the writing is so good that you can't tell one way or the other. That's a good thing. Like
yeah, yeah,
I think that both of us have really valid points on this too. Like it is possible that because of what Killmonger did in the first movie, that's the reason why she saw him. And it's also possible, just based on the way the writing went and how Shuri's the state of her heart, that
yeah,
she saw him because he was on vengeance. So she's going to see the guy who took the last heart-shaped herb for, because he was all vengeful. She's going to see that same person. Like that's where her heart
yep,
is. Her heart resonates with his line of thinking, as opposed to this peaceful, like, oh, we need to do this and that. Like, no, I want revenge. So I
yep,
like that
yep,
scene. What
yep.
was your other point though? You had another one that I told you to hold that.
Oh no, that's what I was bringing up. I already did. It was the part where it's possible that he severed the connection of all the other ancestors, and now he's like the last one there. And so like starting from him forward, you'll see him and then Jury and then going
Yeah.
forward. Like maybe he fucked all that shit up. I wanted to say real quick before I lost the thought, 'cause I thought of it a couple times.
Okay.
And then you brought up Namor again. Just another quick thing. I love the origin of his name. It means like child without love, and it's
Yo.
like Nino. It's like Nino El Namor, or
Yeah.
whatever it is in Spanish. But like, and
Cuckoo
obviously like,
Khan.
dude, and then he was like, and then I called myself Namor, like, and
My
it
people call
child,
me, yes, this. And he's like, but my enemies call me this. And this name is
yeah,
Child Without Love. That name, Child Without Love, is broken as fuck.
yeah, because when he was a kid and he went there and like he saw the people enslaving his tribe and or
That shit
the
was so dark and unexpected for me. I was sitting there in a movie. He said nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. And then they
yep,
show him coming through the grasses, and it's fucking literally slavery. Like
yep.
actual fucking slavery. People being whipped and everything.
And then he got on that shit and they called him the child without love. I just love like when they said it and then like they said it in Spanish and like you hear
Yes.
like in Spanish like Namor at the end of the sentence. It's like Nino and then like something
Yeah.
Namor and I was like, "Oh my god, that shit's hot."
Yeah. This movie was so good. I think that it's just, so for me, this was the best movie I saw in 2022, period. It wasn't just the best MCU movie. This was the best movie I saw last year. Like there's not many, and I've seen a lot of movies last year, but this for me was my favorite one. And that's not like recency bias. That's not because it came out at the end of the year. Like out of everything I saw last year, this one made me I literally did cry, but it made me very emotional. I thought that the writing was really well done. I thought that Namor was a fantastic antagonist. I thought that Angela Bassett's acting was insane. I thought that it was very funny. I thought everybody fit. I thought that Riri Williams was great. I thought Shuri was great. And I felt her spirit in the sense of like, why she's an atheist and why she trusts in science so much and why she feels like we don't need all the ancestors and the gods and all that other stuff. Like I resonated with so many things about this movie. This was just a really wholesome movie that had the perfect amount of action, the perfect amount of storytelling. The visuals were insane. Kenny did bring that up earlier. This movie actually looked very expensive. Like there were parts in Multiverse of Madness where it gets frame droppy. And on top of that, the CGI just doesn't look that good. Like there are blatant parts. I remember at Multiverse of Madness was like, damn, this CG is kind of like a bit mid randomly. Whereas in this movie, at no point did I feel like they cheapened out on the budget at all. Like it just looked expensive as hell.
Yeah, this can't really sing enough. I don't off the top of my head, I don't think I have any complaints. Like
Yeah,
I
me
know-
either. I'm trying to think of
I've
some.
I've said this before in other reviews of things, but like, that doesn't mean it's a 10 out of 10 movie.
Right.
But I don't have any complaint. Not that I can think of. I can't really think of any complaints at the moment. Like, I don't really have any bad things. I enjoyed the whole. It's a long movie too. It's almost 3 hours. It's like 2 hours and 47
Yep.
minutes. It's a long movie, and it didn't feel like it dragged. Like I remember I was watching it. I watched it all the way through, and toward the end, about 30 minutes left, my groceries got delivered, and so I had to pause the movie to go get them off the front step. And when I came back and I unpaused the movie, I was like, "Oh wow, there's only 30 minutes left." I was like, "I didn't realize we were
Right.
this deep
You
into the
watched
movie."
2 hours of it already by that point.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't realize we were this deep already. Like, so the movie didn't drag. The pacing of it felt good. It didn't feel like I was dragging a 3 hour movie. All of the scenes felt fine. All
That's
the acting
hard
was
to
good.
do, by the way.
Yeah, like the movie, I don't really have any complaints. The characters were well written.
Yeah, I'm genuinely right now, as Kenny is speaking, I've been sitting here for the last 2 minutes thinking to myself, what can I say wasn't that good about the movie. And honestly, my only gripe, and this is a personal thing, is that I just wish that Angela Bassett did not die. But like,
yeah.
But then that changes a lot because Shuri gets very vengeful after her mother dies. So like, I don't want that to actually happen because the way it played out was perfect. I can't think of an honest critique, and I'm really trying here. And I critique pretty much everything, right? Like,
yeah, there was a lot of good shit. Like, there's still a lot of scenes we didn't talk to. Like, it's a 3-hour movie. Like,
it is, yeah.
The one scene, first of all, when Ironheart gets her actual full real suit,
Yeah.
I think it looks awesome. I was told that people were clowning on the suit, like they didn't like the shoulders or whatever. I don't know. I think it looks cool. I actually really like the way the suit looks. I like the fucking like railgun arm that she has.
I like when
that
she was flying
cool.
up in the air after Namor when she said he's fast, but I'm faster. She's like, woo!
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That part where you see her shaking her head in a suit.
Yeah, like that was cool as shit. So I really liked all of that. I liked the plan they came up with, deal with Namor, bringing him to a desert.
Oh yeah, evaporating him.
Dude, and then like that final fight in the desert was cool. And
why is he so fucking strong, Kenny?
He's so strong.
He destroyed the ship in one hit. He literally was like, boom, and the whole. Did you see the ship exploded? Like the whole thing exploded.
He's fucked up. He's fucked up. So
go ahead.
I was just gonna say all that was awesome, and like even that, like at the end, and then finally, like when she's about to kill Namor, and then like finally her mom gets through to her from the ancestral plane or whatever, and talks to her, and then she offers like a treaty between their two nations, and like what she says is so realistic, and a fucking shitty villain, a badly written villain, I think would have done this differently, but she says like you and me have caused too much pain or whatever for our foolishness or for vengeance or whatever. She was like, let's not do this to our people, right? Like like, let's not do this to your people. She was like, if you, and like at this point in time, she exploded his back and she had like a spear at his throat. She was like, you can yield now and you will live and no harm will come to your people. Like, otherwise, like we will, like, I'll kill all of them.
Yeah, because first of all, I'm going to kill you. And once you're gone, despite how powerful his people are strong and all that, but it doesn't matter. Like,
it doesn't matter.
At the end of the day, if you're not there to protect them, y'all are fucked.
Maybe he would like not yield for his own sake, but something I really love and respect about him is that like he yielded for the sake of his people.
Yep.
And it was like that's why he yielded. And then at the end, like when his one commander, said like, I can't believe you bent the knee to the Wakandans. It's like, you don't understand. Like, they understand us now. Like, we have an ally.
Yes,
like,
he said she had every reason to kill me.
She had every reason.
You killed her mother, right? Like, if somebody killed my mom, I can't say that I would have the peace of mind that Shuri had to not kill that person. I don't know that I could say that I could do that. So when he said she had every reason to kill me, and they didn't, I respect him so much because, again, he's a well-rounded, well-thought-out, intelligent character. He's not just some raging lunatic who wants to take over the world.
Dude, you know what's cool about that, too, is that whether or not they thought of this, who knows, but it makes sense for him to have that kind of poise because he has been alive for fucking 500 years. Like, he was born in the 1500s. So
he's been around for so goddamn long. I don't even want to. I always say I do not want to live that long personally. Like, I'm good on that. He's been around for a long ass time.
You'd want to live that long if you could have his body.
Well, that's the thing. I would need
if you were like
power.
him.
Yeah, if I had his powers and his body and all that stuff, for sure. Because he's broken as hell. Do you remember the part when he first brought up his war council? And like he puts on that big headpiece and he floats down and sits on the throne. Then he grabs his spear and he slams the spear in the air, but he's in the water. And this shockwave comes out. I was like, how fucking strong is this guy? That's what I mean when I say you need a Superman level character to deal with him, because one-on-one, there are so many characters in the MCU that cannot deal with him. I could just tell. I could tell that he was one of the more powerful characters in the MCU. 100%.
He's definitely nice. I like Namor a lot. I do hope we see more of him. I think we will because the MCU brings everybody back. But I really hope we see more of him. He's really cool.
I hope we see more of him and his people. I think that in the next phase where Kang the Conqueror is supposed to be the main villain, I could imagine, just like against Thanos, everyone uniting, including the Talokan people, to fight against Kang the Conqueror and whatever he got going on.
Yeah.
I could actually see the same exact thing like not Wakanda Forever, Endgame. I can see an Endgame moment where they bring out everybody, including the Wakandians and the Talokan people, to fight against some great threat. That would be really dope because Namor is really cool. She did fuck up his I noticed that when they got into their knockdown drag out fight, she fucked up his wings.
Yeah, she cut one of the wings on his feet.
Yeah, that shit
One of
looked
his
like it
feet
hurt
wings.
bad too. He screamed really loud.
Yeah. I wonder what's gonna happen. I wonder if he's gonna grow the wing back, or like I
I'm
wonder
wondering
exactly
about
what's
that
gonna happen.
too. I really hope that he isn't permanently damaged in the sense that he can't fly anymore, because one of the coolest things about him is that those tiny ass wings somehow support his strong ass body
Yeah.
and allow him to move really
It's
fast.
definitely some comic book shit. It's
Yes.
like that is not aerodynamics at all.
Yeah, when he first lifted up out of the water when they were having their moment, Queen Ramonda and Shuri, when he lifted up out the water and floated over to them, I thought that it looked so dope. The way the wings are just like fluttering and they're looking at him with the spear and they're like, back up. How'd you get in here? And he's like, wow, this place is so nice. He's doing the same thing that Perfect Cell did when he first transformed. He's like admiring his surroundings. In the case of Perfect Cell, he was admiring his own body. He was kind of doing that thing, ignoring the people who are aggressing him. Like they're literally pointing weapons at him.
Yeah, because what's crazy is that like they are literally no threat to him.
Zero.
Like they're sitting there, they have weapons drawn at him, and like he's not threatened at all.
I love that the Queen Ramonda was like, Wakanda is the only place in the world that has vibranium. And then Shuri says, mother, look at him. He's covered in it.
Yeah.
And I said, oh shit. So all of the little adornments that he has, they're all apparently vibranium based. Like all of the stuff he's wearing is vibranium based. He created a sun. I don't know.
He did create a fucking sun. I don't know. That shit was wild.
He said, I brought the
that
sun
whole
to my
underground
people.
city was so cool, man.
I love that
scene, man, that was awesome. When the sun comes, I brought the sun to my people is such a wild thing to say.
Yes.
Oh, that's the other thing, because they're talking about killing him, and because the one guy, I'm so bad with remembering all their names. And M'Baku, at first he's like, let's kill the fishman. Like we kill the fishman. Like we don't do this favor for him because then like he'll make us do something else for him.
Exactly.
But then later, he's arguing not to kill him, and they're like, you were the one that wanted to kill him. Like why not? And he goes, listen to what they call him. Like listen to what his people call him. They call him, and then he said they like Kulu Aku or whatever.
Khan, yeah.
Kulu Yaku. He's a monster hunter. They call him Kulu Yaku, and that means like wind serpent god. And he's like, they call him God. Like, maybe we shouldn't like. And he goes through like a more political like angle with it, because he's like, realize like who this man is to his people and what he is. Like, it's probably not the smartest idea to kill. Like, if we kill him, there will never be an end to the war.
Yep.
Like, they will fight us forever. And like, maybe our army's stronger, but how many of us will die just fighting them off?
Yeah, war begets war. Very, very good. I also really like the end of the movie. So after everything wraps up, there's a peace treaty between Wakanda and Talokan, right? And post-credit scene was amazing because there's hints at it throughout the movie that I didn't catch until I rewatched it. But right when Angela Bassett had that heart-to-heart with Shuri, she said, don't bring any of your beads, don't bring your weapons, don't bring your AI, just where we're going, you don't need any of that. And they're having that moment on the beach. It's right before Namor shows up. She says, Shuri, there's something I have to tell you about your brother. And then Namor pops in. And she doesn't get to, she doesn't get to say it. Then she subsequently dies. Yep. Later on, Queen Ramonda goes to get Shuri back. She goes to that spy girl, and she's talking to her. And she's like, long time no see. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the funeral. But we thought it would be better this way. There's like these little things that they're saying that you don't quite understand until you see the secret ending and you go back and rewatch the movie. It's like, oh, they were blatantly talking about it. But Chadwick Boseman's character had a son.
Yep.
And they thought that it was best that he stays outside of Wakanda for now, because they didn't want him to grow up in that world and like with the burden of being the heir to the throne and all this other stuff. So they want him to grow up a regular life. So they kind of hid him. And of course, Queen Ramonda knows about him. It's only very certain people, high-level ranking people in Wakanda know about Chadwick's son, but he's completely hidden from even his sister, his aunt, which I thought was so dope. The little boy had the most adorable smile I've ever seen.
I was gonna say, he was a cute he was such a cute little kid, man. Like, he was cute as fuck.
Kenny, that was, I want a son, bro. Only, like, seeing that little boy makes me want a son so bad.
When he told her his name, and then she was like, "Oh, that's a really great name, or that's a cute name." And he goes, "Thank you. Your name is great too, I guess."
Yeah. His little teeth and his smile Oh my God. When I tell, he's also in the movie earlier too. He's one of the kids that when she walks up, I think when Queen Ramonda walks up, she's like, I'm looking for this person or whatever. The kids take her to the spy girl, and literally that little boy is one of the kids.
Man.
So it's really cool. Like you don't even notice it at first, and then when you read, you're like, oh shit, he's right there. Like he's
right there.
Her son is fully right there. But yes, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say when he says like his real name, when he says like Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa, like I was like, oh my God,
I started tearing up again when he said that. When he said Prince T'Challa, he got like really stern when he said it.
Yeah.
When he said his real name, when he said like I'm T'Challa or whatever, oh my God, that shit had me. The legacy lives on. I thought that they did such a brilliant job handling Chadwick Boseman's untimely passing. I think they did a brilliant job with the script and with the passing down the mantle to Black Panther. This movie was phenomenal. It actually, the more I speak about it, the more I realize like it's definitely higher ranked for me than even my top 5 MCU movies. It's
a really good movie. It's a good movie, period.
Yes.
It's a good Marvel movie. One of the best Marvel movies, good movie, period. And like I said, this doesn't mean it's a 10 out of 10, but because it's very hard for anything to be a 10 out of 10. But at the moment, I cannot think of any complaints I have.
I can't either. And right now, my score for it was like a 9.5, but I really can't even justify my 9.5. Like, what am I? If somebody said, well, what's the 0.5 minus from? I can't justify it. So we might have to revisit this at some point. Maybe somebody, you guys listening to it, if you have an honest critique of the movie, and don't go out of your way, but like if you have an honest critique of the movie, please let us know, because we genuinely, like, no cap, can't find a single thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, like, even though I have no I have no critiques and I think the movie's amazing, right? But I think there's like something, like, it's hard to say, but like there's like a something in you where like it brings you even more excitement, right?
Yes.
Like and I don't know, just 10.10 is tough.
I don't like giving things a 10 because that means that there's no room for improvement. That means that it's literally perfect, and perfect is a strong word, right? Like perfect is, like I said, even when we did
that's what I'm saying too. Yeah.
Even when we talked about the Queen's Gambit recently, we said that it's for me, that TV show is the closest thing to perfect, but I didn't say it was perfect. Yeah. I said it's the closest thing to perfect because the Queen's Gambit has a very good beginning and a very good ending. And that's usually, really good things tend to not have the best endings. Like they just tend to not end well. For me, Death Note is my favorite anime because it actually starts off phenomenally, and it also ends phenomenally as well.
Oh yeah.
So like everything about it, it wraps up so well. It makes
Death Note does have one of the best endings of I'm talking movies, TV shows, books, like literally all of fiction. I think the ending of Death Note, just like for how complete it is, like it feels, and it like it doesn't feel rushed, it doesn't feel convoluted, it doesn't feel like it wasn't
and it's
planned.
Foreshadowed. Like, it's blatantly foreshadowed. I think episode 1, right? Doesn't he tell him?
Yeah, or I don't know if it's episode 1 or 3, maybe, but whatever. It's like very early on.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just one of those endings. It's completely wrapped up, and like when the story is finished, you're like, holy like everything feels like it made sense. Every duck was in a row. Like, so yeah, that manga / anime has one of the best endings of anything ever. Yeah,
I agree 100%. I'm gonna get a picture of us real quick. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this movie. I really can't say that there was anything that I really could critique about it. It was just really good. If you haven't seen it yet and you listen to this entire episode, you got this far, please watch it. It is out now on streaming. It is insane. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Before we get out of here, let me give a shout out to everyone on our Patreon. So there are currently 46 of you. And I am really, really happy with all the growth that we've been having, not only with Patreon, but also our YouTube channel, which I've been posting a lot of content on YouTube. And Kenny and I have been doing like Patreon content, YouTube content. There's clips of the podcast. You can gain full video versions of the podcast through our Patreon. You can get access to exclusive episodes of Master and the Pupil, 2 Masters, and the solo series. There's episodes that are only on Patreon. There's a lot of exclusive content on Patreon. So if you're interested in that type of thing, look out for that. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are very, very close to hitting 500 subscribers on YouTube. And I have a plan. I want to do a 24-hour stream. So at some point in the very near future, I plan to do a 24-hour, like I will be live on YouTube for 24 hours. I guess it'll be like a subathon, but I'll be playing Edison format. I might play some Smash if people want to play Smash. I was thinking like at some point I might play God of War Ragnarok because I still have to go through that. And also there are several YCSs coming up and they might be live streamed, so we could probably watch some of the YCSs together and stuff like that. But I want to do it on a weekend where like something is happening. So there's a high chance it could even be as early as this weekend. I have to look at what my schedule looks like for this Friday or Saturday, but maybe on Saturday I will do a 24-hour stream. I'm thinking of, I might do it this Saturday, like this Saturday into Sunday, and then Sunday is Super Bowl Sunday. So I'm thinking about doing it really, really soon. It's something I've been thinking about doing, but I really want to get us to 500 subs. We've gotten like 76 subscribers in the last 28 days. And that is nuts. We were under 400. I messaged Kenny like, hey, we just got this 400 and now we're at like 450 something. So yeah. It's crazy how well the channel is growing. And you guys seem to really like the content that we've been putting out on YouTube. So I plan to give you guys more of that. So look out for that stuff. But anyways, for the people on our Patreon already, thank you so much. We have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, Dimitri Barnes, Vinny Casello, Giovanni Avalos, Alex Flamer, Henri Reynolds, CJ, Dubk Dad 1, Dan Vrabel, First to Home, Dallas Fernaris, S. Akuma, Mitchell Nels, Midwest Gaming, Dimitri Safirdas, Vince Marquette, Dallas Bailey, Roz Weiss, Nick Stango, Hanto, our two-time national champion, Vincent Zen, Sarah Maria, Sunny Top Cut Podcast, Alex Ahern, Philip Campa, Jalen Haskins, Arali Melfi Slump, Chris Lynn, Jeff Lewang. Oh, this one, the name has changed. So Blake Jeffrey, now your name is Wookie159, Connor LK, MSW 2389, Edison Club, Kyle Patelho, Brandon Moore, Sugal, Nick, Eric, PokeChamp 1234, and Corey Fowler. So the last two are the newest ones, PokeChamp 1234 and Corey Fowler. Thank you guys so much for joining the IMNerd Podcast Patreon. I also want to say I am very intrigued, Blake Jeffrey Smith, by the fact that you were able to change your Patreon name. I didn't know that you could do that because I'm pretty sure before it used to just actually say your name, and now it says this. So for other people, if you can do that, if you want me to read, because I know I've gotten requests to, when their name comes up, to say something different than what I see. But if you can blatantly change your name on Patreon or like have a name display, that would be great if you want me to say something else, because I'll just obviously say whatever it is, as long as you don't change to something offensive, right? Like don't do that. But like, yeah, this name being now Wookie159, totally fine with that. So yeah, thank you guys for the 46 people on our Patreon. Special shout out to Corey Fowler and PokeChamp1234 for being the newest patrons. And yeah, I'm also noticing that a couple of the people are, so Wookie159, you are actually a main character. I don't know if that just happened. I feel like that might have been edited because you can edit your tier. But if you want to get some Edison in and do that shadow game thing that we offer for the main character tier, then I'm 100% down for that, because I'm just noticing that you are a main character and we really appreciate people who subscribe at that tier level. And I haven't done a shadow game in a while. And as you guys know, I've been putting out a lot of dueling content, a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh content. So I'm in the mood to duel. So this is the time. Like, people want to duel me and you're in that main character tier. Now's the time. Anyways, guys, as I always say, do the things that make you happy, including watching Wakanda Forever for the 4th time and enjoying literally all 3 hours of it.
Fucking amazing.
Yep. We will catch you
Wakanda Forever.
Peace out.